Week 5 of the NFL's in the book. So let's take a look at how the 2024 NFL draft class performed this past week. This is the rookie watch. I want to keep tabs on some of these guys that I spent so much time on during this last draft cycle and see how they're progressing. And I'm telling you, there were some good performances this week. There were also some bad performances. And we got to start at the quarterback position with the first overall pick, Caleb Williams. Who would have thought the Panthers defense is exactly what the doctor ordered? Now, benefit of the doubt, Caleb has looked good the last couple of weeks. He's starting to work more within the pocket, within structure. But this was the best Caleb has looked thus far, throwing for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. The downfield ball was really good. He went 3 for 4 on passes, 20 yards or further down the field for 89 yards. Had the long touchdown to DJ Moore. And you could definitely tell he's starting to trust the offensive line quite a bit more and learn how to maneuver the offensive line a bit better rather than trying to scramble and get out of dodge. That was kind of a problem in the first couple of games of the season where Caleb, not only was he vacating the pocket when he had to, but also when he didn't have to, because I felt like he just didn't trust the offensive line. To be fair, the offensive line hasn't been that great this year. But in this game against a bad defensive line in the Carolina Panthers, they protected him really well. He was only pressured on 6 of his 35 dropbacks. I will say when under pressure, he did not complete a pass. He went 0 for 2, had a sack in there, did scramble a couple of times, ended up going for 34 yards. But he's still a work in progress when it comes to the intermediate level passes. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. We're trending up with Caleb, which if you're a Bears fan, you should be ecstatic. But I'm done talking about the first overall pick. Talk about my guy, Tyrone Tracy, running back for the Giants. Went off this week because he had Devin Singletary. He was out with a groin injury, and he took over. He ran for 129 yards, even threw a 1-yard reception in there. And if you're unfamiliar with Tyrone Tracy, he was someone I liked coming out of Purdue. Initially from Iowa, he was a wide receiver and didn't make the transition. Not even when he transferred to Purdue initially. Didn't make the transition until his final year at Purdue to running back. And I remember going through his film and I was like, man, he's a very determined runner. He's tough to get down and he could create after contact. I really liked him as a runner, but you could tell it was something he really needed to grow at. That, this is a former wide receiver. But he gives you that aspect. Something the Giants haven't really tapped into yet exactly. I think he had a good big reception last week against the Cowboys. But I would like to see them tap in to his receiving chops a bit more. But he's also a good pass protector. And that's something he was really good at yesterday. And I'm ecstatic just seeing my boy go off. He ended up, having 3.67 yards after contact and just consistently churned out solid gains. He had 4 runs that went for 10 plus yards. Hell yes. I love it. Sign me up. That's 4 out of his 18 carries. Okay, let's do it, man. If he's just going to continue to churn and get positive yards, I'm going to like that. I'm going to love that. He was fantastic. I'm not saying he's going to end up taking the job from Devin Singletary, but a man could hope. This was a great outing. I get it. Seattle, it was their backup defensive line. It was their second string, so to speak, defensive line. But a win is a win. But of course, with the good comes the bad. Taliese Fuaga kind of had a down week this week. To be fair, that Saints offensive line hasn't been the same ever since Eric McCoy got banged up. And this was by far Fuaga's worst performance of the season. By far. I mean, the dude allowed 7 pressures. I even think he got penalized up in there. Even had a penalty. So, and to be fair, the Saints offensive line as a whole wasn't that good yesterday against the Saints or against the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo, he'll do that to you. But I don't want one bad performance to take away the overall positive that Taliese Fuaga has been thus far this season, because he's truly been pretty darn good. Like that 7 pressures he allowed was far more than he's allowed on the season combined. Like prior to this, in 4 games, he allowed 5 pressures. But you can definitely tell, just as a whole, with no Eric McCoy, that not just the pass protection, but also the run blocking hasn't been great. And yeah, this Saints team has struggled the last 2 to 3 weeks with that. So Fuaga, yeah, it was a tough outing, but still, there's so much more positive than negative here with him. I don't want you to take away, oh, he's absolute cheeks now. He's not. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft. So I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. I want to stick with the offensive line, specifically the tackle, and talk about Tyler Guyton. I talked about him last week. I was like, man, he's not looked good the last few games. This is someone that looks like he's going to have a rough sledding this year if you're just throwing him out there as a starter. And that's what the Cowboys have done. And he ends up going down. I don't know if it's a knee injury. I haven't looked at the injury report yet. But prior to him getting hurt, because he played 23 snaps this game, Nick Herbig was taking him to town. Like, it wasn't even funny. Like, guy ends up allowing 2 pressures on 15 pass rushing snaps. Was there a penalty up in there? He was flagged once. But, dude, Herbig really took him to task. And I think, like, listen, if you're the Cowboys, you're just going to take this on the chin and you're going to hope, okay, his rookie year is not going to be great. Maybe we're going to see some promise during the end of the year. And because I think it's kind of foolish to think this is going to get better sooner rather than later, especially given the injury, depending on what it is. But keep in mind, Andrew Thomas, absolute terrible rookie year. Kind of ended it pretty strong, but still there was no indication that he was going to turn this around in such a huge way. And Andrew Thomas is now one of the best tackles in the NFL. So rookie year, again, take it with a grain of salt. It's going to be a learning experience for a lot of these guys, but this wasn't a good outing, but at least it was against a very good defense with TJ Watt and Nick Herbig, who's right now functioning. He's mainly a rotation edge rusher, but with Alex Highsmith out, he was the starter across from Watt. But I'm sorry, guys. I got to stay with the offensive line. The offensive line this week for the rookie class wasn't particularly good. It just wasn't. And Blake Fisher, I think this was Blake Fisher getting his first start with Titus Howard out. I'm just going to confirm that. But while I'm confirming it, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. Gregory Rousseau really had a field day with him. He really did. Blake Fisher, I thought he was someone that couldn't really initially start early, that there was quite a bit to work on with him, as you like the tools, the length, the movement skills, but the footwork can be cumbersome with him. And it was this week. 5 pressures, allowed a sack. Again, got totally just annihilated by Gregory Rousseau, who, to be fair, Rousseau is kind of on that tear. But you saw it last week against Trevon Walker, as he had to come in for Howard. No, was it Howard? No, it was Tunzel, and having to take on Josh Hines-Allen. And it was mainly Trevon Walker, but yeah, he had a rough go at it. And I think this is someone that's like, and I think Houston understands this as well. Like, Fisher's started because of injury. He's someone that you're gonna like, yeah. We don't want him to start so quickly. There's stuff to develop with him. So this shouldn't be an indication. Same with like Kingsley Suamate or some of the other tackles that might be struggling out the gates. They're rookies. Some of them shouldn't be starting this early. DJ Glaze is a good example. They shouldn't be starting this early, but because of injury, they're out there. So expect them to play bad. I would. That should be the expectation. They're rookies after all. So I don't want to sound like I'm super down on the tackle class. Just ended up being a rough week for the tackle position for rookies in general. But I'm done. I'm done talking about these thumbs down. I'm positive. I want to stay positive. Let's talk about Brian Thomas. Of course, he had to make the list. He's the only rookie wide receiver this week to crack 100 yards, 5 receptions for 122 yards, had an 85-yard touchdown in there. Thank you, Trevor Lawrence, for finally hitting Brian Thomas because he's wide open downfield. And I don't remember if I specifically talked about him on the rookie watch last week. I feel like I did because I think he should have had a bigger game than he did last week. Because if you remember, Trevor Lawrence missed him on a wide open touchdown last week. He should have had like 140 yards rather than just, 86 yards. He should have 4 touchdowns on the air instead of 3. But Brian Thomas is looking great. He's looking, dare I say, like him and Malik Neighbors that kind of feel like it. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's coming along. It's fine. No worries there. These were your top 3. Rome Odunze. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Chicago. There's just a lot. But, like, you're looking at the top 4 wide receivers in this past draft class. And especially now that I look at this upcoming draft class, I'm just like, man. Spoiled. Spoiled we were with that 2024 NFL draft class, at least offensively. But, yeah, Brian Thomas, I said this last year. Like, man, if he decided to return, he'd probably be in the running for wide receiver 1 for me. He'd absolutely be a top 10 pick. But who cares, man? He's tearing it up. He ended up being the 23rd pick and tearing it up and probably going to have a big payday in like 3 years. Good on you. Good on you. But let's talk about the tight end position because Brock Bowers has been playing really good football. Had the 57-yard touchdown to open the game. And it's just unfortunate that currently, well, the Raiders just aren't a good team right now offensively. You got some turmoil going on with Gardner Minshew. Now he's been benched like twice this year for Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell doesn't look really any better. Vontae Adams is eventually going to be traded. The run game, I don't hear it coming any day soon. I don't. So it's a tough situation there with the Las Vegas offense. But Brock Bowers has been the consistent. He has been the constant. He's their best pass catcher right now. With Devontae Adams not like off the field and probably getting traded, he's their best pass catcher. He ends up getting 8 receptions, 97 yards, had the long touchdown. He's looked great, man. He has looked great. As a rookie tight end, you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. You really do. Good on Brock Bowers, man. Kind of feel like the Jets probably should have drafted him. Look at me rehashing old wounds. All right, let's move on to Winston Reid. And I really wanted to talk about Reid because from what after I saw his analytics, I was like, okay, I really got to watch the Cleveland defense. To be fair, in Cleveland, the only thing worth watching is the defense because the offense is bad. But Reid, he was kind of like the 3rd linebacker in. I believe like Jordan Hicks is hurt. I think they had Devin Bush as the starter there with JOK, which, by the way, JOK had a nutty day. But Reid was kind of being rotated in there, right? And he was primarily, from what I saw, he was mainly spying Jaden Daniels. And sometimes worked. Hey, dude had 3 pressures, did have a sack. Other times, you forget how much acceleration Jaden Daniels really has. Like, there was a play out there where He beats JOK. Like, I don't think JOK took like a terrible angle towards the sideline. I think Jaden just hit the accelerator. And with Reid here, he had one where he kind of faked the blitz. It was maybe more supposed to be a delayed blitz, but he was more so eyeing, keying, spying Jaden Daniels. And once that hole opened up, like both Reid and Daniels saw it, and they went to go meet, and Daniels just hit that accelerator. So like Reid couldn't get a clean hit. Ended up being his only missed tackle of the day, but he was everywhere. And someone I'm like, hey, I kind of want to see more of him. I kind of want to see more of him because I thought he played hella good. Again, 5 tackles. I don't know how many tackles the NFL gave him, but PFF had him down with 5, 3 pressures, 2 defensive stops, had a sack. I believe he had also a pass batted down as well, maybe even a pass deflection in there. But I'm curious. If you're unfamiliar, didn't watch him during the draft process. Weber State. Fun fact, it's hard to get Weber State tape. Just is. I believe he's Weber State. But it ends up being a UDFA and gets into camp and doesn't make the squad. He's on the practice team, gets called up because of the injuries that they currently have at linebacker. If you're unfamiliar with the Browns' injuries at linebacker, woof. Let me tell you a story. All right, let's just pull it up here. As currently, you got Muhammad Diabati. He's on IR with a hip. Tony Fields, he got hurt week 1. He's on IR with an ankle injury. You have a Jordan Hicks who has an elbow and tricep injury that caused him to miss this game. So he got called up, I think, in was it the Jacksonville game? Let me pull it up. Yeah, he got called up in the Jacksonville game. And, like, that's the thing, dude. This guy's been playing a ton of special teams. He already has 91 special team snaps on the year. Gotta freaking love it, man. You gotta freaking love it. But I want to see more of him, like, actively a part of the defense. Because this was a really, really good game by him. But yep, Weber State. Yeah, like I said, guys, I can't get tape from everywhere, unfortunately. I can only get what's given to me. But yeah, I had to mention him. I like mentioning these like low round or UDFAs. I did that with like Elijah Chapman a couple of weeks ago. And then Evan Williams, have yourself a game. Listen, when it came to Evan Williams, because I'm not going to run away from my take. I said, hey, he feels like he's going to be in the NFL for a long time because I think he could be a solid rotation player, probably never a starter, but also this dude's like going to be money on special teams. I might be eating crow, at least in terms of what he can do as a starter. Because, like, golly, have yourself a day, Evan Williams. And he mainly did this, I think, I don't want to say from deep alignment, but let's pull up his actual snap breakdown. So, yeah, I mean, he was basically playing free on 46 snaps. To be fair, Xavier McKinney, they like to rotate their guys around. You had Jalen Bullard kicking in and playing the slot in this game. But, like, Evan Williams felt everywhere, dude. And that's the thing. This guy's motor doesn't quit. He's so good closing in downhill. So when you're playing, like, too high, like, yeah, it makes sense that he's going to be the dude just barreling downhill, making plays in the run game, which, I mean, how many stops did he have in the run game? He only had 1 stop. That's kind of wild. But he was targeted 6 times, allowed 3 receptions for 19 yards, came away with 2 pass breakups, and I'm feeling like, yeah, you should just go ahead and have Jalen Bullard play in the slot, at least primarily. You could rotate him out at safety as well, but man. Freaking Evan Williams, dude. Freaking Evan Williams. I haven't followed what he's done on special teams, though. Take me to special teams. He's got 65 special team snaps on the year. Only 1 tackle. Huh. Fascinating. But nonetheless, man, Evan Williams, someone that I thought was firmly like kind of a early day 3 player. I think he ends up, wasn't Evan Williams drafted in around the back end of round 3 or early round 4? It was early round 4. And honestly, my criticism of them picking that was, well, you already got a safety in Jalen Bullard. I mean, I get double dipping. I mean, I still thought it was early for Evans. You know, I'm not going to hide my take. But, I mean, I never doubted his motor. Like, if some people like when they're doing their recruiting or their evals, they like to give it like some numerical value. His motor would be like a 15. Be a 15. He flies all over the place. Last but not least, I wanted to highlight Trevin Wallace, who I believe this was his first start because Shaq Thompson got hurt last week. So yes, this was his first start of the season. And honestly, it looked better than what you would expect. It really did. Like, he was everywhere, 14 tackles, had a pressure. He did allow 4 receptions for 79 yards. But I mean, I always knew that coverage was going to be a work in progress with him, which I wasn't shocked that, okay, he's not going to start early with Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell there. Both those guys are hurt. Now you got Trevin Wallace being forced to play. And honestly, I thought it looked solid. He was all over the place, like 5 defensive stops. And again, when I say all over the place, in a good way, he was all over the place. He was flying around. But I think in coverage is where he's going to be vulnerable. It's just something that's he's not good at currently. But still, I walked away impressed, knowing he's going to have to start probably a good portion of this season now with Thompson out for the year. That I walked away encouraged with Trevin Wallace. He was a prospect I really liked coming out of Kentucky. I thought he was really freaky, great length. So good on you. But of course, we got some honorable mentions we should hit up. Hey, I got the quarterbacks here. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. They had good weeks. Led their teams to victory. Good on them. But hey, my boy Jalen Wright. Unfortunately, Devon A-Chain, concussion. He was out, so it was Wright and Mostert that were splitting carries here. And Wright looked good. 13 carries for 86 yards. He had 4 forced missed tackles. His yards after contact, 4.62. That's a hell of a day for him, man. Hell of a day. Jordan Whittington, he did have to leave the game in the second half. I don't know what the injury was specifically. But he's been looking solid the last couple of weeks. He's been the guy that's stepped up. Him and Tutu, I think, are the 2 guys that have really stepped up with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua out. But this past week, 7 receptions for 89 yards. He had a forced missed tackle in there. The week prior, 6 receptions, 62 yards. So it's not like this is his career high right here, 7 receptions, 89 yards. But they've made it a focal point to get him acclimated and into this offense. Like, I like that the depth of target, especially, again, it makes sense with all the injuries, but his average depth of target has gone from around the line of scrimmage to 7 yards down the field the last 2 weeks. That's just a big plus. You got Jalen Coker. I didn't want to highlight him in the main portion of the video because he kind of came in garbage time. But he had 4 receptions for 68 yards. The long there was 31. And I believe that was when Bryce Young was in. Again, it was garbage time. But 2 forced missed tackles. Like, okay, let's go, man. Carolina, they got some receivers now. They got some receivers. Tanner Boyerlini, dude, he's doing a great job, I think. I think he's doing a really good job since he's had to start for Ryan Kelly, who's out with a neck injury. But Boyerlini ended up not allowing a single pressure, wasn't flagged. He did this on 51 pass blocking snaps. And hey, let me tell you, Jacksonville has got more of a pass rush than the Colts currently do. So that is saying something. So good on him, man. It was an impressive showing. Jared Verse and Jonah Ellis, I wanted to highlight them here because they're the only two edge slash defensive line rookies who had a pass rush win rate over 20% this past weekend. I think Ellis had like 2 pressures. And here, let me just pull it up. I think Ellis had 2 pressures on 19 pass rushing snaps, while Verse had 3 pressures on 21 pass rushing snaps. So, hey, 2 guys that got after it. They were winning their one-on-ones. And unfortunately, sometimes the quarterback will get the ball out before you can even make that a pressure. But they're winning reps, and I like it. I like it a lot. Man, Elijah Chapman, on a side note, just looking at his analytics, they are exclusively using this guy as a pass rusher, and I like it. Also, Edgerrin Cooper, man, let's highlight him because he's more of a package guy at this point. I think he only played like 30 snaps. And he had 2 pressures. He had a sack, 2 defensive stops. Like they're using him as someone that could come in and get pressure, and someone who could fly around that intermediate part. Not intermediate, but that underneath part, like within like 9 yards of the line of scrimmage. So I wanted to highlight him here because I think pretty soon he's going to end up taking over some snaps from some of the other linebackers there for Green Bay. I mean, let's just do a freaking pulse check on Green Bay's linebacking core, if you don't mind. All right, so we got Quay Walker's not been bad, but he's not been like outstanding. Funny enough, like McDuffie's probably been on par, a little worse in coverage, a little more vulnerable. So yeah, I'm kind of curious when will Cooper start eating into either of those guys' snaps. But let me know who were some of the rookies that impressed you or didn't impress you this past week in the NFL. If you want draft content, I got draft content on the channel. Shoot, if you like Rookie Watch, you'll love Stock Report. That's where I talk about the stocks of this upcoming class, 2025, man. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.